People as a whole are playing small. In other words, the majority of us, and I'll put myself in this category too, right? We're playing smaller than we're capable of. And so nothing is a bigger gut hit. Nothing is a bigger reality, slap of reality than when you see somebody doing something that you know you could do, that you want to do, but you're not following through and doing it. It's like the worst reminder that you could, but you aren't. Well, according to the law of attraction, all I have to do is sit here and chant, I have $10 million, I have $10 million, I have 10, and it's supposed to show up eventually, right? Mm-hmm. The problem is the law of attraction works not because you say something. The law of attraction works because you believe something. Mm. And so if you're making $100,000 right now and you can't believe, you cannot see the 10 million yet, then you need to chunk it down to smaller steps. And this goes for anything. I know we're talking about money. This goes for anything. Mm-hmm. So if you can't believe the outcome yet, chunk it down to smaller steps. Maybe the first thing that you're going to see coming in is, come hell or high water, you're going to have 250 grand. And then when that shows up, I'm going to have $500,000. And then when that shows up, I am going to make 7 figures. And then when that shows up, so if you chunk it down, then you can actually digest it. Then you can believe it. So a lot of times when people find themselves first learning about the law of attraction and learning about abundance, it seems like this very easy equation and they shoot for the stars like people encourage you to do. But the problem is no matter how many times you say it, you're not believing it. So you don't know what you don't know, right? Famous old saying, you don't know what you don't know. And if you only know of a certain ceiling, like pretend the area you grew up in, the person that was doing the absolute best was still doing like a D+, then the D+ is the best you're ever going to know until you seek out other larger examples. And listen, we're intuitive. Your gut knows that there's something bigger and better out there. Mm-hmm. You just have to go seek out what that example looks like and then surround yourself with that example as much as possible. So I encourage people, as cheesy as this is, if you are strapped financially right now, go sit in the lobby of a gorgeous 5-star hotel. Spend some time there. Have coffee in the lobby if you don't mind spending the money on the coffee. Like, be around that energy and that beauty and those people as much as possible, removing you from the other location where you feel absolutely uninspired and limited. Because just being in that beautiful space where you see all these people doing what's possible, that alone will inspire you and change your entire outlook and change your in-look. And then that starts to change what you believe is possible. So that's one example. Go to a restaurant that you normally would never go to, you can't necessarily afford. And I'm not saying sit down and have an expensive meal, but just sit at the bar and have a drink. And then take your time and be in that beautiful restaurant where you would never imagine yourself being before, and do that as often as possible. When you travel, and I'm talking all different financial levels here, okay? Mm-hmm. When you travel, if you always book a coach seat, if you're always on Expedia and you're like, okay, sort by lowest fare, and you're doing 3 connections and it's a crappy experience, just once, spend the extra few $100s on first class. And once you experience, again, something different, you see what else is possible and you don't want to go back, and it sparks something in you. I've got this friend, his name's Hayden, and he used to play NFL football. He's huge. Mm-hmm. He's like 6'4", and when he played ball, he was like 280, and now he's down to like 230. And while he was coming up financially, he would always book coach seats. And you're sitting like this in airplanes. And one time he got bumped to first class. And he said to me after he experienced this, he said, I will never sit in one of those small seats again. Once he knew what was possible, once he knew what it felt like, once he realized that his giant ass didn't have to like squeeze into this tiny seat between 2 people, then he said, I will never do that again. And guess what? He never did again. His business took off. His drive took off, not just because of this one thing, but it was one of the things that showed you what was possible. And he has never sat, in a non-first class seat again. And he's finally fits. He's finally comfortable. So that's just one example of how you can start to taste these other things. So once you taste them, then you know what's out there. And once you know what's out there, a lot of times you don't want to go back to what you had before. And that sparks a whole new drive in you and a whole new set of values and a whole new possibility that you work towards.